Hello, welcome back to the Explosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
This is what happens when Drew decides to not say welcome.
Yeah. I think Drew's having a stroke.
To emulate the shareholder meeting, we have to just spend 30 minutes thanking each other. So I just want to specifically thank you, Michael, for coming on the show.
My
and
full
all
name.
the hard work and all the time, and just thank you so much for being here. And Randy as well, with your busy schedule and everything going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just need to thank
Drew, thank
also
you.
Everybody watching.
Thank you, Drew. I don't know why I'm doing Tim, but
For
thank
all we've
you.
done. There's lots of people to thank. But we don't normally talk about this kind of thing, but I just wanted to keep the audience in the loop. We've actually hit on the EV Podcast YouTube channel. We've crossed the 4,000 hour mark. So this is the first time that I can recall that we're actually short on subscribers from becoming monetized, not short on hours watched.
Hey.
I don't know how often that happens.
What's our number
But
on
if you're an audio
subscribers?
listener, 1,000? Oh, what's our number? We need 1,000. We're at like 330 something.
Oh my goodness.
But I get comments all the time of like, why aren't there very many people subscribed? So I normally wouldn't ask. I promise after 1,000 subs, I'll never ask again. But Mike and Randy do have to reschedule their work days, and I do as well, to make these shows possible. So we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the YouTube channel, let us get monetized, then you can unsubscribe. I don't care what happens afterwards.
Drew, your 3
Feel
minutes
free,
are up.
even if you don't watch.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, enough. That's my elevator room pitch.
Please,
But-
everybody. I like some more soup.
I like just a little bit more soup.
Just
But
a
yeah,
little more soup.
we've been doing this show, and all the YouTube posting has been pro bono. We get nothing for that so far. So if you're enjoying the YouTube version, make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah,
That would
and share.
be greatly appreciated.
Definitely share with your friends.
Anyway,
Those that love Tesla
yeah.
and those that cannot stop talking about the Blazer EV.
We need to talk about the Blazer EV again because of the lost episode.
Oh, dear
I think we
goodness.
even mentioned the Blazer effect last week, but
This
we
thing.
don't have that joke. We don't have that joke. He has sticky notes for everything.
all right
Basically,
here.
on the lost episode a couple weeks ago, like, Mike was curious of our thoughts on the Blazer EV, and I was just so incredibly whelmed. It was so like blech. It was like light bar, decent amount of buttons, not the best charging speed, not the best range, not the lowest price. You know, it was just this bizarre mixture of like, I guess GM can build a crossover that's better than a Bolt, but not really better than anything else, much else on the market. So I coined the term Blazer effect because I'm starting to feel oversaturated and kind of annoyed by how many electric crossovers are on the market. It's just this crossover upon crossover, and they all are starting to kind of look the same too. They all kind of follow this very similar design trend.
Mm-hmm.
And so we coined the term, it's if an EV crossover gets announced and there's nothing really that unique or that different about it, I call it the Blazer effect.
Yeah, I think our official
it's just-
definition was when a manufacturer re-releases a legacy brand and looks very vanilla in styling and specs. So
Yes,
nothing
that's a great definition.
nothing interesting with it, I guess, which basically the Blazer fits that with a estimated range of around 320 miles, which is decent, but like most
Pretty
EVs
good.
right now are getting around 300, which I guess going by Elon's words, yeah, I guess 300 is that magic number. But like a 0 to 60 and
Don't need to go much higher or lower.
no.
Right in there.
0 to 60 of like 4 seconds or whatever with wide open watts or whatever. And then also, I guess, what we also say in that episode? It taking the Camaro's trim names.
That one's not
like
me.
the SS, the RS, and all that. Like, it doesn't really make sense of the Blazer, right? Because it's not like the most performance-heavy thing. And it seems like them just trying to grasp for straws in regards to I don't know, something that is new and sporty when the Blazer, I guess, is a SUV, a crossover SUV in a way or whatever. But it doesn't really evoke
And I don't
Camaro performance to me.
Mm-mm. Well, with the Blazer, I did not see any info on there being a 7-seat option. So I'm pretty sure it's still a 5-seater, which to me makes it less interesting. It's like, okay, it's a bit prettier and a bit faster charging Bolt EUV. You know, it's still from GM. Something I didn't mention on the last show was our family owned a Trailblazer for many, many years. And I totally forgot that that's like of the same line. I grew up in the third row of a Trailblazer.
It's so funny you say that because back a while, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I used to wear a Blazer. And I was very...
The Blazer effect.
Yeah, it's the Blazer effect.
That's right. It's the same thing. I like
You're
how
dating
you said
yourself,
10 years
Randy.
ago. I don't wear it anymore. It just...
It's 2022.
I have a Tesla now.
Yeah. Please. Like the old school, like first gen memes or whatever. I know more than you. Little postcards like, please. All right, but anyway.
My parents, I think they paid over $40,000 for that Trailblazer.
Woo.
And it had a DVD player. And it could hold 6 CDs at the same time. Like all these discs you could just keep feeding into the media control unit. And it had all kinds of oil and transmission problems. They hated it and they regretted it. And so shout out to GM for the Trailblazer.
Jeez.
They got rid of it and they were so glad they did.
I guess like
traded it in for his Tacoma.
I was gonna say the two good things about the Blazer is that it comes with Super Cruise, and then also has like a red interior.
That's good.
Those things are
Yes.
good features to have because they're striking and different, or at least it provides utility to something that didn't really have it before. It's dipping into that Cadillac level of tech, which is nice, but the interior just doesn't look good, even though that's got a... I forget how big the screen is. Is it like 17-inch diagonal or something like that?
17-inch? Yeah. It's not I like the red. I'll give it points for that. The red leather finish on the seats and stuff, that's fine. I dig that. That's it. I can't compliment anything else. It's not very high charging speed. It's not insanely good range. And it's not out yet. It's not coming out till I think end of next year. So market could easily be very different by then. But anyway, so when you hear us say the Blazer effect, now you know what we're talking about. Yes. Hopefully that provides some much needed context. But how is the Teslas in your guys' world? Because I could go off on a rant if I don't check in with you guys first. I've got lots to say this week.
I like that.
But
checking in with our Teslas. I noticed something interesting that I've never made note before. And Mike, I want to pick your brain. Well, yeah. Probably only Mike because no one else is going to get the 110. Anyway.
Oh, 110.
So
I thought no one else has one on this show.
Because no one else has one on this show either, you know, no matter how many times you drive past Fremont. So, I grabbed my Tesla today. I have context. I don't know if I said this on the other shows or whatever, but very quick recap. My car's charging at my old garage right now because I still have access to that garage. So I went to go get my car this morning. I was like, all right, I'm at 70%. That's fine. Do you remember what we counted, Drew? How long it took when we just plugged into an outlet, what the charge rate was? Do you remember that number?
I think it was either 4 or 5 miles an hour. I think.
Which
it probably depends on the car. It depends on your efficiency.
Yes, but on average, what would you say if we were to translate that in percentage? What was the percentage per hour? Would you say?
If it's 4, it's maybe a little bit more than 1%.
Yes,
maybe 2.
Yeah, about right. Yeah,
2%. Okay.
So.
Okay.
And I say that because the model that we tried years ago.
That was a rear-wheel drive.
That was long range.
Yeah.
So
They don't make that one.
The
they
glory
don't make
days.
that one anymore. But the long range basically more or less had the same over 320 miles.
Yes.
So
Right.
it's not that far of gauging something here.
True.
2 days ago.
Yeah, it's similar.
2 days ago, I went to go plug my car in, and my car was at 20%. And 2 days later, almost like to the hour, it was at 70. So that was 50% in 24 hours. Yesterday, when I woke
It's
up,
24 or 48 hours?
48.
2 days.
2 days.
Okay.
48 hours.
40, so in 48 hours, it gained 50% charge. Wow. Okay.
50%
Yeah,
charge.
that makes sense.
Yesterday, when I woke
Uh-huh.
up, I went from 20% to 45%. And that exceeds that 1 to 2% charge an hour thing I was making note of. That was closer when I plugged it in. That's closer to like 4, maybe 5% an hour within that 12-hour period.
Huh.
And I don't know why. And I checked my app. Dang it! I forgot to take screenshots because I was like, that's weird. I plugged it in like as
It's okay.
as
Less
sunset was
editing
going
work
down.
for me.
There you go. Yeah. I plug it in at sunset. I wake up, I check my phone around 9:10, and it went from 20 to 45. And I was like, what?
Wow. That's weird.
That didn't make sense to me. So my report back is that I'm seeing an inconsistency with a wall outlet. And even if all outlets aren't treated equal, the 110 is. So
Yeah, it's a 110. That's its thing.
so
Can only
that's
get
just
so much out of that.
yeah, rough, rudimentary numbers here. I'd say it was like closer to 4, about 5%, somewhere between 4 and 5% an hour instead of 1 to about 2. It doubled it, and I don't know. But then it stopped, right? So then after that, all day yesterday, it was taking its time up until this morning, 70%. I'm like, that's good enough because I need to run some errands today. I was like, what was yesterday about? Or what was that first 12 hours about? That, I don't know. So anyway, that's my update. I've noticed that my car charged quick, and
That's a nice surprise, I guess.
yeah, but I don't know what that means. So
Yeah, it's an interesting anomaly. I've never seen it personally, just because I haven't plugged in my car into a 110 and maybe it's been not ever, but it's been a while. Probably since last Christmas or Thanksgiving is the last time I plugged into a 110. So
The gift of slow charging.
while he was camping,
Merry Christmas.
it wasn't even camping, but yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, my usual
I have a
numbers that I
theory.
see is about 4 or 5 miles per hour, which makes sense. I mean, it could have been a low. Well, I don't know. What's your theory, Drew?
My theory is that it was something to do with temperature, and maybe the times where it's normally charging 1.5 to 2%, it might be like hotter, and it's using more energy to cool the battery pack. And maybe the anomaly was on that morning. It was such a perfect temperature that it didn't have to do anything with the software. Or there could be an update or something that would consume more power. And maybe the temperature was just so good, it was like, we don't need to run the fans. All this energy can go straight to the pack. That's my best guess. It could be.
let me validate that for a second. The garage that it stays in is climate controlled.
Okay.
So no change in the environment.
But so there wouldn't be a change.
No, but the thing is, I've never made note of what would happen at the 20% mark up. Yesterday morning was the first time I was like, what's my car at? Because I was like, can I run my errands today? It's like, no, it's too low. But that's like 45. What? Whereas like when we plugged it in at your house, that was not climate control. That was just whatever is working with the sun that day.
Yeah, it was just out in the open.
So
Right.
that to me might be there's probably there's probably a lot of truth to that. No software updates. No, it was a slow, Wednesday. So it's like just or a Wednesday night where
No
nothing needed to be-
10.6 FSD beta 10.69 updates to install that
Unfortunately,
day.
Yeah. So
Sounds
that's my observation.
sounds
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
I guess on my end, in regards to charging, I'm having another estimator come out to give me some nice numbers regarding installing a. Oh goodness, what was it? I think it's a 1530 actually instead of a 1450 NEMA plug.
oh, okay.
Which it's not too
Gotcha.
far different. The only difference is, was it a 1450? I believe the 50 is the amperage, right, on that plug. Where
Correct.
looking at the looking at the specs for my
I don't know what I'm
house-
talking about.
I'm an electrician. You can trust me. At least at my place, it can't handle the 50, or at least my setup is not won't allow for that potential, or maybe not even potential, that rate. But
Okay,
it
gotcha.
will accept a 30, or at least I think it's a 40.
Okay.
Maybe it's a 1540. I don't know. I have to look at it again what the first estimator gave, but I'll probably get around.
It'll be fast enough, I'm sure.
Looking at this wonderful vehicle charging speeds from Tesla, I think it's around
Mm-hmm.
22 to 30 miles per hour, which is more than
That's
enough.
plenty.
Yeah, that could easily
Yeah,
get me to work and back
that'll
without worrying. The next issue there is getting on PG&E's EV plan. And then I've also asked a couple people about how
Right.
they've dealt with that, and only one of them was able to verify not even numbers, but more of just the usual like behavior of charging, right? Like you charge at the midnight to 4 or 5 a.m. and that's my plan. So nothing really new
Off
there.
peak.
Yeah. For FSD beta, I guess it's been okay-ish. Yesterday, it was very temperamental in the morning, and then saved me, I guess, the day before from a crash.
Ooh.
I guess the more
It
interesting
saved you.
one, yeah, or it intervened a little bit. So I'm getting on this on ramp, and it's going onto a highway, and then it's FSD driving this whole time. I'm letting it do its whole beta thing, and it's merging into a lane. And of course, at that very same time, a vehicle that's either parallel with me, I think it's parallel with me, is starting to merge as I'm basically, I think, 3/4 of the way into the lane. So classic moment where you're both merging in the same lane. I think I was just a little bit quicker, or FSD was a little bit quicker getting into the lane. This car starts coming into the lane. Car immediately dodges out of the way to the lane that it came from. I take control basically about halfway through this operation because I'm like, as much as I trust FSD, which is not much, I would like to take control here. But that was
would
one
make
thing
me
that was
nervous.
nice. It definitely pulled to the right. I could definitely feel that force, which was, I guess, reassuring after the fact, because it's like, oh, cool, it recognized a situation and acted upon it. But at the same time, in the moment, you're like, I don't care. I just don't want to hit the car.
Right.
So that was one thing, but I guess,
Right.
was it yesterday morning? There's this classic turn, which I think I've shared on the podcast before, but it's this weird right-hand turn. Drew will probably put the clip in here at some point. But it's classic right-hand turn. You don't
More
even
work
have
for
to turn
Drew.
your blinker. Yeah. More editing work for Drew.
This even more reason to watch the YouTube version.
Exactly.
Thank you for your
get the
subscription.
FSD in action. But it's a weird turn. The FSD beta sometimes does
Yeah.
it well. Other times it does it terribly. And this time, yesterday, it did it terribly, where it was basically going straight for the sidewalk or where the lane splits, where that saddle point is, I guess. And I had to take control and drag it out of the way. And then almost immediately after I cruise down that road a little bit, there's a intersection. And I enabled FSD right before that, like, I don't know, probably about 100 feet before that intersection, or maybe a bit more. And there's a car in front of me, and the FSD beta stops before, of course, it hits the car in front of it. But for some reason, I can see on the little animation, which is not in the video, the little animation, like, what's it called? Maneuvering line. It's a little predictive line that shows where it's probably going. It's trying to, curve around the right side of the vehicle to get around it. but it like kept on flickering between straight and then curving around. I'm like, that's weird. And then the car is doing like that typical riding someone's butt maneuver where like you're inching forward to the car in front of you, or like if you're the person at the line, like someone's inching their bumper as close as possible to your car. That's what it was doing, which was just really strange. I definitely hit the record button for the nice developers at Tesla to say, hey, what the heck?
Good luck.
Yeah.
The blue line goes like off on the side of the road. It like goes up. It's like banking around the cars. The blue line goes in the 3D space. Yeah. It's like,
up and over.
Jump over this vehicle. The Roadster, maybe.
I was going to say the Cybertruck maybe could, right? With its suspension, could probably get enough momentum to like jump up, maybe. But yeah, the Roadster would definitely be a better candidate for that. That'd be interesting. So yeah, FSD beta, as I always say, definitely needs work. It's getting there, but yesterday was very much a disappointing moment of it almost back to back in like the same 5 minute, or not even 5 minute, like 3 minute window of it just misbehaving or not handling a situation like, I don't know, a logical driver would. If it's trying to be a logical autopilot driver, it just didn't even try. So,
yeah,
that was a bummer.
That's kind of just what I've gotten used to now. It's kind of every time we check in with the beta, it's like, yep, it's pretty good here and pretty bad here.
I just...
Randy's not even using it.
I'll use it for easy, enhanced autopilot techniques. Straight lines, stuck in traffic.
For traffic.
Don't want to put that stress on my heel. I'm like, all right, or my ankle. You know.
Tell me about it.
I don't want to do all that ankle work. I'm like, all right. Boom, boom.
I guess that's something we didn't talk about, or maybe you can talk about, Drew, a little bit. You just did maybe not a 12-hour drive back again, but you're back at home, in which the last few weeks you've been in a different scenario, but now we get to see the wonderful iPads and iPhones behind you.
Pretend they're not there.
Ew, iPads!
Get rid of it. But the only tablet I want to use is the one in the Tesla mounted to the dash.
Look at that
That's
segue.
why I'm the tablet now.
Look at
AMD Ryzen powered.
I'm the
Look
tablet.
at me.
But it definitely gave you a little bit more. What was it? I guess the right word is you're a whole lot more
Anxiety?
Maybe not anxiety is. I guess.
No, that's the word he went with.
You're a lot more eager to get your car, especially after that road trip.
If you thought I was impatient before,
now
there's
just
not
straight
a good
up
word to describe.
Pissed.
Now I'm like ticked off. No, yeah, like we joke about it on the show, which I kind of was half expecting to happen with this whole delivery process. Was like, well, there's probably going to be a point where we're waiting and we're like, come on, where's my car? But literally, like, I talk about it with my wife and she's just like genuinely upset. It's not like a joking, like, oh man, where's their car? It's like what's going on? Like, seriously, what's wrong? Because like this was the whole trip we were hoping to make with the Tesla. So every mile I've driven on this, I'm just like grinding my teeth. Like, I shouldn't have had to do this. I basically, and then once we got back, we're having kind of like a little family reunion. We have people from San Diego that came up, and we have people from out of the country visiting right now. And they needed to be picked up from San Francisco International Airport. So that was the day after
They did not want to get close.
That was the day after I got back. So I went from... for the sake of privacy, Central California area, up to Spokane, Washington, then over to Seattle, Washington, where we hung out with some friends we have there, and then drove all the way down back home and then to SFO and back home. So essentially within a couple of days, I drove over 1,000 miles in the Sonata. With crappy cruise control that's not adaptive.
No AC.
With the freaking key fob that doesn't work. It has air conditioning. I love how you've dwelled on that. But yes, it does have air conditioning. I'll give it that.
I don't know. I don't believe you.
But no... Okay, it doesn't have AC. We'll just I'm not trying to defend the Sonata at this point. We don't need to. If I'm exaggerating it a bit, that's fine. But like, there's no way to plug in music to it. It doesn't have a headphone jack. It doesn't have a audio plug-in of any kind. All it has is a CD player and the radio. So we have to use a Bluetooth to FM transmitter, and that thing gets interfered with in certain areas where it starts picking up different radio signals. It's so annoying on those long drives where you're just trying to listen to music and that's something that we just keep. And then on top of that, on my drive home, we stopped once in Oregon. It does have very long range. I'll give it that. No, that's enough. We don't need to help it anymore. But in Oregon, it wouldn't start. The battery died.
Oh, no.
So we filled it up at the pump, and I was trying to start it. So luckily, we had jumper cables, and there was a very nice guy at the pump, and luckily it wasn't too busy. You know, some place like the gas stations in Seattle were like everybody's in line. We had to wait in the Costco line to get gas. Everyone's working through slowly so they can save something like 2 cents a gallon. Total, you save about 30 cents to go to Costco. But anyway, you're trying to get through that line slowly, and it would have been a nightmare if it died there. Luckily, this wasn't a super busy gas station, but we gassed up and then jump-started it, and that jump-start got us all the way back. So once we got home and we went to bed and woke up, it was like, okay, we need to go to the airport in a couple hours. We don't know if this car can start. And we just like barely made it home because we knew the battery was bad, and we got here with fairly little gas left, and we were like, okay, we got to fix the battery, fill it up with gas, and then we got to drive to SFO and back, and which is basically 6 hours of driving for us.
Cool.
So we went to a undisclosed location that had one battery in stock that was the right size. There's so many different sizes of car battery. I hate that. Mm-hmm. There's all these different batteries, and they barely had any in stock, and there was one that was like $99, and we were like, okay, that's I think the only one here that'll fit our car. So we buy that one, and my dad told me, like, if you bring in the old one, they give you a credit, like a recycling credit. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll bring in the old one. And we gave it to them, and they said, your total's $110. I was like, I thought there was some kind of recycling credit. And they were like, well, there's a battery fee in California. So if you buy the car battery, there's a big extra fee. And if you trade in your old battery, they reduce the fee. It's not eliminated, it's just reduced. So I was like, oh, thank you so much for your generosity of lowering the fee. How kind of you.
Thank you, kind
He
sir.
said normally this would
Thank
be like
you,
a $12
kind
fee, but now it's a $2 fee. So thanks. So we got the battery. We
May I
hooked
get
it up
another
to the car.
spanking while I'm at it?
We're going to frame you for murder.
Help me with more 4680 cells at this point.
Also, lead acid batteries are freaking heavy.
Yeah.
My God. Like,
They are bricks and a half.
They put the lead in the lead acid. I can tell. It's in there. So we hook it up to the car, and we're like, okay, I think we fixed it. And we turn it on, and it lights up. It goes, and then it won't stay running now. Mm-hmm. And we have to get going in a couple hours. So we're like, what could this be? So good old trusty Google came out, and I was like, Sonata starts but won't stay running. And there were like 5 different potential problems between alternators or starters and all these things that needed to be replaced. One of them, though, that seemed very, very simple was just that if your gas tank is too low, the pressure from the gasoline won't maintain the engine from running. So we were like, well, that sounds cheap and quick. If that is the problem, let's just put some more gas in the car. It wasn't on empty. It didn't even have the light on. And the range indicator, which has been pretty accurate for us, said we had another like 70 miles left in it. But I guess even with 70 miles of range left, the gas wasn't enough to keep the engine running. So we took a gas can to the station, filled it up, and got the car up to like a quarter of a tank, started it up, and then it started working. But it was a nervous drive because I was like, I feel like I'm rolling the dice every time we start this thing. Like if it dies and there's people waiting for us at the airport and we're stuck somewhere, this is going to be quite a problem. So essentially I've had just the most stressful time with
Yikes.
my Sonata, and on this exact drive we go directly, as I recorded, directly by the Fremont factory. So we drive over and just see an ocean of Teslas, and I'm like, why? Come on! It's right here, and I'm so ready. I'm so done. And all these things could have been avoided. But yeah, and I'm following people on the subreddit that have taken delivery, and they've ordered after I did. There's people in Los Angeles that got my exact same spec, white on white, 18-inch aero, no FSD. They ordered on March 3rd, which is a day after me, and they just took delivery. So, congrats to them, but still feels weird, feels wrong.
Right
So,
place, right time, I guess,
yeah,
for
it's
that
pretty
inventory push.
Right place, right time. That's the trick. They texted me yesterday. They said, "Hey, you can trade in your vehicle for a credit." And I was like, "I'm not trading in, but I'll pay in cash right now. Like I'm good. I'll pick it up at the factory." I offered
sure.
that. I was like,
They don't need your money. They need your patience.
I
need
guess
your
so.
anguish.
Someone on one of my streams had the theory that, like, Chris from Dirty Tesla got his already, and it's the exact same spec. And I checked with him. I said, "When was yours built?" And he said July. So it's not like an old model.
No.
It was a recently built model that they shipped out to Michigan to a guy who ordered 2 months after me and delivered to him. But the theory that someone was pitching to me was, well, he probably paid the higher pricing. He didn't lock it at 45,000. So they're like,
Oh.
these people are paying more, so we're prioritizing them. And then there's also people taking delivery now that ordered last year. So they're catering to them because they've waited a long time. And then they're also catering to the people who are paying today's
You're in the
pricing
middle.
because that's a higher margin. So I'm in this stuck like, well, we know Drew's a guaranteed sale. He's not going to back out. So we can take our time. We can prioritize all the other orders because we'll get more money quicker, and also these people have been waiting longer than he has. So I'm stuck in this limbo state.
I'm convinced, much like with Apple and Press, you've been some kind of blacklisted on some capacity.
I thought I was too, because I was texting my support agent, and I was like, what can I do to accelerate delivery? Like, is there any place I can go, or like, how do I check for available inventory, or like someone denied delivery somewhere? Like, where do I need to drive? I'll drive. And they never responded. They like straight up ghosted me for like 2 months. Like they just said nothing. And I didn't hear from them until yesterday. And it was just a trade-in thing. It was just like, trade in your old car. And I was like, I don't need to. I don't want
Hopefully
to.
that's an indication
my
of something,
text.
though. If they're
I know. I was
deciding
hoping
to
that meant like,
talk to you
oh.
now. Like, oh, maybe it's soon.
I was hoping that the trade-in meant that like a VIN has been assigned, but there's still no VIN. And I even checked the source code on the website. There's people in the subreddit say that you go to your order page and hit, Command Option U, and you can go into the code, and they'll have VINs even if they haven't contacted you yet. Some people have found their VIN that way, and it's not there. I've checked.
Oh.
So
What a hack. Did not know that was
But
possible.
I think you need to buy more Tesla shares. That's my takeaway.
yeah, today they're on sale, right? Like
Today they're
Elon
on
said, it's a good buying opportunity. It's down 5% today. Oh, cool.
Wow.
Lower than Lucid. In percentage, not.
Yeah, I was going to say, in magnitude, not even close.
maybe after the stock split.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. But I had another experience that I wanted to gauge your guys' opinion on, because I thought this was an interesting dilemma I was in, because I've been at basically a bunch of mini family reunions over the past few weeks of seeing people I haven't seen for a long time, and in-laws and friends of in-laws and parents of in-laws of friends of just all this big web of family I've been talking with. And they're nice people, and I'm glad we spent time with them, and I had fun, and I enjoyed our conversations. I don't think they're watching this, so we should be good. But
This person and
there
this
was a lot. Without naming names, there was a lot of people that were very anti-Elon that I was hanging out with.
Sure.
Naturally.
And I respected them, and I do not go around flashing that we plan on buying a Tesla. Like we've actually been very intentional to not bring it up as much as possible. So we share it online because of the Tesla fund and the fans and everything. But in person, we didn't tell our parents. We didn't tell our relatives. They either found out through YouTube. I think my dad found out through the podcast. It was like 3 weeks after I ordered it. He was like, "Are you getting it?" He texted me when I was at Mike's house, I think. And he was like, "Hey, I didn't hear about this."
Oh, yeah. That was when we
And
were
then-
installing Starlink. Like in the middle of it.
That's right. Yeah, we were installing your Starlink. And I was like, "Oh, Dad found the podcast." He found out. He was like, "I didn't hear about this." So word gets around through other people, but we don't go around sharing it. And we were having a conversation because I was talking to a friend that was interested in the Rivians. We were talking about the R1S, and he was like, "Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure about the future of the company." And he knew about Aptera. I didn't even have to
Wow.
tell him what it was, which I thought was cool. He was just like, "Yeah, I know. I've heard of Aptera."
Probably
That's
some of
that's
the
an
ads that
interesting
they've
concept."
run on
But
Instagram.
yeah, that's true. They have run some. So, but basically they were like, "Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff, but I would never buy a Tesla because Elon is just so insane. Like it's just does these crazy things with how many kids and the Neuralink CEO bearing his child and
What?
and his political stance on things. And like there's all these controversies surrounding Elon, and ever since Randy said it, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. Sorry, I don't know if you said this on or off the air.
Tell me.
But Randy said that Elon has become the new Trump.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Like of Twitter. He's become the big, like, he's the source of our problems, doesn't pay enough taxes, or, everyone hates Elon. And to be fair, I'm not like 100% on everything he says either. And
Sure.
I don't want to get too off the rails with EV because this isn't an Elon podcast, but it relates to EVs in the sense that there's a lot of people I've met that I admire and respect. They're not like people I would write off and say like, well, they're just internet trolls. These are good people that are just not a fan of his public persona and his lifestyle, and they're willing to say like, I won't buy the product for that, which put me in a very awkward position because they didn't know that I have a Model 3 on order, and now I feel like I can't say anything. I was like, imagine if we were here with our car. Like, would this conversation have
Every person
have
who has a
continued?
Tesla is contributing to that monster out there.
Right.
Thank God
Brainwashed.
Drew
That's how
has
they
some
feel.
sense in the family.
But that's
like-
literally how they feel.
Again,
And, like,
as an example, though, not to be literal here, it's like being a closeted
Uh-huh.
Republican when it's popular to crap on Trump. It's like,
Right.
like at least this guy has some common sense. It's same thing, and that's
Yeah.
even more of I was making that comparison to Elon and Trump because it's almost taboo to say you like what he's done or you respect his work, because then all of a sudden it's well, hold on, I was about to do my
Well-
own thing. Finish your thing, Drew.
yeah. I don't really compare the two that much. I think they're very different, and they don't seem to get along anyway. But like I don't really. I'm fairly apolitical.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't really label.
He doesn't
Democrat
be
or Republican.
political. He apoliticals.
I don't do the political. I just think that anyone who thinks they should be president probably shouldn't be. But that's a whole that's a whole different
Taylors of Politics,
ideology thing
the
of just
podcast.
like politics don't solve anything. All it does is make people angry and mad at each other, and we don't get anywhere. So that's why I don't enjoy talking about it. But it feels like Elon has become the new like placeholder for like big like he's the problem with the world, and because people, just everyday people, are just, they were sharing stories. They're like, I heard he said this to his girlfriend, or I heard, and I don't believe they were true, but if I stand up and say something, I come across as the fanboy. I come across as,
You're the defender.
you think he can do no wrong. I'm the defender. And I talked to my wife about it afterwards. I was like, because I'll speak on her behalf a little bit. I probably shouldn't, but I'll speak on her behalf.
As the
she's
men
not-
in the marriages rightfully do, we will speak on behalf of our wives.
After mansplaining
Take
everything.
it. Drew.
well, she doesn't like coming on podcasts or live streams anyway, so
Yeah.
it's not like she could be speaking for herself, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't let her. It's like I've always welcomed her too, but she doesn't tolerate him as much as I do, basically.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I disagree with a lot of things Elon does or the way he manages his lifestyle or whatever, or his political views and stuff, but I just tolerate it because I think, well, he's crazy. Like a guy who attempted these crazy companies and grew these brands the way they did, you have to be kind of insane in order to just attempt these things. So obviously, in other aspects of your life, you're gonna sound and act crazy. But she's just like, oh, that's terrible, or why did he do that, or that's super weird. I just remember the whole conversation about like, you know, how many kids he was having with all these different people, and my wife was like, that's so weird, that's so creepy, that's so bizarre, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, he wants there to be more people, I guess. And she's like, why are you so
200
okay
years from
with
now,
it? Like,
everyone's last name is going to be Musk.
there's gonna be so many Musk. They could have a whole school full of Musk. But even he's joking about it though. Like
Yeah.
he tweeted the other day about like I had more kids than Lucid built cars in Q2, which I was like 679.
It's a lot of
That's
kids.
a lot.
Ah.
But what I'm trying to bring this all back to is like, is it wrong of me to feel uncomfortable with potentially knowing that if I show up to gatherings or show up to places in a Tesla, I might have to become the defender, and I might have to justify that, like, people who don't like him saying, why do you support him, or I don't think you should have bought that, or like, have you guys experienced anything like that in your ownership? I'm curious.
I think to answer your first question, I think you're valid to feel however you feel. That's your right as a human to have your own feelings and think the way that you want to. In regards to bringing your Tesla to a family meetup and potentially having some of that shunning or that flack attributed to you, it is valid to feel a bit fearful of it. I think kind of like selling the car, the thing that might win them over is just a butt in a seat, and maybe it'll reduce some of that stigma of, was Elon in the car when you enjoyed the acceleration? Was Elon in the car when you enjoyed the bass or the tight turns and all that, or the amount of money I'm saving or anything like that? No, but I think just explaining, I don't know, people are going to think the way that they're going to think. And if they attribute Musk to Tesla that closely, then that's okay. If nothing's going to change their mind, then okay. That's just how they're going to think of the world and how they're going to think of the product. And they're going to miss out on the product, in my opinion, because me and Randy can definitely stand up and say that these cars have been one of the best purchases we've ever made in our lives. They're really great products, and they save us a whole bunch of money, and they provide so much enjoyment.
Yeah.
And they integrate into our... We're very focused on tech, all three of us. But they very much provide that synergy for that little techie mindset that we've got there. And even if you don't have a techie mindset, it does that non-techie stuff really well, in my opinion. Yeah, it doesn't have CarPlay and all that, but it does stuff really well. So to go back to it, I think, I don't know, just take them for a drive if they're that upset about it. And if they don't want to get into it, if they don't want to get near it, then okay, then that's their deal. If they want to argue about it, then you can choose to argue or, I guess, discuss with them about it. But otherwise, purchase what you want and do what you like, as long as it's not hurting anyone. I don't see a problem. And if it's something that you want to have in your life, in which we've talked about it for almost 2 years now at the podcast, or is it 2 years? Yeah, almost 2 years of the podcast now.
Yeah.
Tesla's a pretty good product and you enjoy it. And if you want to get one, that's your right. If they want to get a Blazer EV, go right ahead. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Randy? What do you think?
Man, I got a lot to say about it, because there's a lot of...
I knew it'd be a good question for you guys.
It hits a lot. It hits a lot of, it hits too close to home for me with my experience with it, and I have a few examples I'll share. So, firstly, to word it a little bit different for you or towards you, it's not a yes or no question which you asked. I mean, you phrased it in a yes or no. Is it wrong to? But that be unapologetically who you are, and if they don't like it, defend, stand your ground the way you stood your ground as an Apple sheep. You know, if they people who do not see true reason will always have blinders on. And I think one thing that, I agree with you about, like being apolitical, for example, is because why does everybody have to be in a camp for something? It's a what's it called, a partisan hack. Like they find a way to justify it just based off of how they feel about a person instead of, say, like policies or whatever. And to me, that should be what politics are about, but it's not. It's a game show host now, and now we're in our finals. And to the left, and to the right, ding
like
ding.
Sports.
It is,
Total.
and it's like, this is the most powerful person, arguably, in the world. It's up there, and we treat it so weirdly. And the absence of Trump on Twitter, there has to be another Trump. There's always going to be a villain to the story because it drives sales or clicks or ads for news in media. And a lot of that stuff gets lost in the noise. And people who don't want to think for themselves are going to just side with people. Well, this guy's very charismatic, so I'm going to agree with what he has to say. We deal with it in tech all the time. A lot of people became fans of Apple because of Steve Jobs, strictly for his charisma. And when he died, it's not the same Apple, And no matter what you hit a dead man with about how terrible of a boss or a father Steve Jobs was, people are defending him, right? And objectively, he's done some wrong things. The things with audiobooks, for example, and how he played dirty games to get what he wants because he's a vicious businessman. Good for him. Bill Gates is alive, but we'll crucify him for his monopoly practices because of what he did in the 90s. But if he was dead, he'd be seen different. Are you a cult?
There's a whole different thing surrounding Bill Gates now.
Well, now it's like, yeah, right?
Yeah,
so
it's
you
like
die
a totally
hero
different
or you
person
live
almost.
long enough to see yourself become the villain. And,
Right.
if you're alive, you're a cult. If you're dead, it's a religion. So that's how that
Very
works.
black and white, but yeah.
And obviously I'm making extremes here, but to the point that I'm trying to make here is people have already made up their mind about Elon today just because of how online presence drives or influences emotion. So why it hits close to home what you're saying is because in 2019 the talk wasn't on Elon as much as it was on Tesla is a niche product. It's dying. It will not survive. Blah, 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 blah. And I've shared that story enough times. Quick recap for anybody who didn't hear the story. Everybody who had I had a friend whose dad was very connected in San Diego, where like he had exclusive like private meetings and dinners with the mayor and stuff like that. Like he's very connected, and needless to say, he lined pockets very well. But he was a good businessman. A good businessman who every businessman plays politics a little bit. So this guy is in the ear, and he was maybe one person away from being able to talk to Governor Brown, not Newsom, but Brown, right? So he was very involved in what's going on in California, and that by design has to be with tech as well, right? And my friend was just kind of being an echo chamber of his dad. Well, Tesla's not gonna. That Fremont factory is probably it's failing, but and he was. I could tell it's like you're not really talking from your own experiences or research. You're just echoing what you hear from your dad because Daddy San Diego here has an opinion about Elon, and as a businessman, he has an opinion about Elon, and you're just echoing it. He's like, hey, I'm just saying, you know what? I'm just saying, it's not gonna work. But and that's a friend of mine where we just agreed to disagree, and it is what it is. But I had so many people tell me that car's gonna blow up, burst into flames, blah 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 blah. They were crapping on the product.
Yeah.
Fast forward now 3 years. Oh,
Something.
Man.
It's the person in charge, not the
everybody's quiet about the product now, and then they're like, man, everyone who was, you know, crapping on me wishes they have an EV now. And I was like, well, and I was sitting there being a defender of Tesla, and they're like, you're such a sheep. Of course you are, because you have an iPhone, so you're already a sheep. You will believe anybody.
You own a phone that's well rounded as a product. How dare you?
Do you even Linux, bro? Like I was unapologetically me, because I'm like, all right, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But guess what? I get crapped on for liking pumpkin spice lattes because it's too basic, and I'm like, I am what I don't hate me because I'm happy. So, you know, so all that I had to defend and stand my ground, and I got tired of some, and I was like, you know what, you're gonna believe what you. I got tired of wasting my breath because people are just going to believe what they believe. Second story. My father-in-law, he doesn't listen to these things, so I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, as if I was talking off the podcast. My father-in-law is a very wealthy man as well. He's a businessman. And he is your, 60s Reagan Republican type of guy.
He does business at the stock market.
He's just a businessman. And he does not shy away, and I only say this because he doesn't shy away from his politics, which is Fox News, Sean Hannity, O'Reilly when he's on.
I think we all have those kind of people in our lives.
Yes. But the problem is he basically crucifies me about my Tesla and about how I'm hurting the environment and about how it's like he would say that you're buying the lie, you da, 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 da. And I mean he goes so far off his hinges here. It's like, no, you believe the big lie because you and every other Obama lover, da 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 da. And like I can't help but giggle. It's like you don't know my politics, man. But he took the buyout, he took the loan, and da da da, and he went throughout this whole thing. And then when I push back even remotely, I goes like, Trump gave him, the same. But he's like, no, it's a tax reduction. It's like, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. So he hates Elon. Tesla is a terrible company, hurting the environment, hates Elon. 2 months ago, he goes, well, seeing how Elon is going to register as a Republican, I guess I got to like him now. The company's not that bad. He changed his whole position because
such a team player.
Because he cares about what jersey he wants to sport. And I'm like, dude,
thanks, Dad.
And you're old enough to know better, but you still like it's the same partisan bull. And all of a sudden, he hates Elon because he's like, oh, he's a diehard Democrat, and like, oh, he's a Republican. Guess what? He's making some good change, and he starts. It wasn't an original thought. It was not an original thought.
He's in Texas.
He's like, I can't wait to get out of California, da, 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 and all that. So I say all that because I was fighting this guy every time I go visit the family, and he has to bring up. He's like, "It's always your buddy Elon. I bet your stocks are doing well." Da, da. And I had to fight him. I was like, "Yeah, I'll spar." My wife is like, "Don't engage." I'm like, I can't help it. It's just I sometimes I like to stay sharp on my debates and stuff and my counterpoints, and I just
I'm more of a pacifist.
So
I don't do that.
For a different reason, I've taken the passive route because that experience 2 months ago solidified that everyone who hates on Elon because of what he does and then how quickly they change their stances on EVs and tech or as a business, like they try to always find a way to marry the two by having their own pre-bias on everything. So bringing it now off a full circle with my monologue here, I don't give a crap what Elon is doing in his personal life. How's the stock performing? You know, how's and that's a oversimplified way, but like seeing how the products are doing. How's Giga Texas operating now? How's Berlin? What's the next, you know, where are you going to put the next factory? Where, because I'm thinking of like costs, right? And like, okay, well, how's the backlog? How's the demand? He addresses the high prices. It's like it's kind of embarrassingly high right now, and so he's addressed all these things, and he's self-aware about that. I only care about that. What the guy does, I don't care. And I agree with certain things. I disagree with certain things with him. It makes no difference to me what I feel or think, because even though he's synonymous with Tesla, Tesla's bigger than him. Very much, you know, literally in every sense, bigger than Elon. And all this volatility just makes it like, all right, well, if you're thinking about buying some stocks, do it now. Oh, there's going to be a stock split. If you guys are thinking about doing it, you might as well do it now. My recommendation is, yeah, if you want to get in, get in. You're not, it's a safe stock, more or less. No one's saying the same problems as before. And now, because they can't find any other way to fight against change, they can't attack the product. They're going to attack the guy. And then what? When he's gone, inevitably he will be gone. Who's the next villain? There's always going to be another problem. There's always going to be another issue when someone goes against the grain. These legacy automobile makers were fighting it for so long, and now they really can't. And that's just, people hate change. Nobody at the top wants to be dethroned, whether it's in money, business, politics, whatever. They don't want to be dethroned. And so it's all about selling you a lie. And fighting with family members who do not live in this world the way we live in this world, who do not analyze what we analyze, means nothing to me anymore. About like, you've already made up your mind. So I can't stand out anymore with a green Tesla with a mat wrapping. I roll up loud with my Elon shirt for change, and you know, whatever. Like I own it, because
fart mode engaged and everything.
If you're gonna talk about me, say it to my face. You know, at that point, it's like you've already made up your mind about what I believe in or about what you believe in, and it does not affect what I'm doing with my day to day. So if I'm a person you can't talk to because of that says more about you than it does me. I don't really care. So own it, Drew. If anybody, family, friends, whatever, gives you crap for it, how would Drew, the Apple sheep, handle it? Do the same thing. You don't hide your Apple Watch. You don't hide your iPhone. Don't be shameful for being a Tesla sheep with your Model 3. And if people want to judge you on it, they've made up their mind. I do the button to seat thing, and my father-in-law goes, "It's a nice car." And this is back when he was hating on Elon. "It's a nice car. I can't support the company." And that was when he was off his soapbox about it. He was yelling at me in front of people because he likes to put on his show. But him and I in the car, he was like, "It's a good car. I can't do it." Now I asked him again, it's like, "Would you do it now?" He's like, "It's too expensive. I don't think I want to do it." So even though he likes Elon now,
problem.
He likes Elon. He likes Tesla. It's too expensive. He's like, I don't feel like spending that type of money. So it is what it is.
Sure.
But don't let anybody shame you for liking what you like. And if something better comes along, then there's that. Like at the end of the day, it's all preference. And if somebody has a problem with what a guy does in his personal life, whether it's how he likes to troll or how many kids he has, like maybe if you focused more about what's going on in your life and less about what other people who have no influence over you, maybe you'd be in a happier place in your head. But that's a whole generational difference, man. Like that's just that's family. They got to be mad about something because there's always got to be a bad guy.
Well, what I can completely understand, and what I had to check in with my wife about was like, you're preaching to the choir. Like, I get the concept of standing up for your choices and what you want to buy and what products you want to use, but I can totally understand someone not wanting to be that guy, not wanting to be the one in the family or in the friend group that has to stand up for their purchase or has to deal with the, like you said, like the anti-Elon people in the community that are like, "Oh, this fanboy over here," and you have to explain every time, "No, I'm not, like, that's not, I don't agree with everything, but I like the product for what it is." And some people maybe aren't feeling up for that kind of like self-defense of like I don't want to have to explain myself every time I pull up somewhere. And I clarified with like Louise, because I know she doesn't care for Elon at all, and has been fairly outspoken about like, yeah, I just don't think he's a good person or whatever. But I was like, are you embarrassed that we're gonna own this car? Like, are you nervous that we're gonna have to explain ourselves? And she was like, no, not at all. Which I was glad to hear, because her mindset was just like, we enjoy the car for what it is, and if someone has a problem with that, then we'll tell them, like that's your problem. We just wanted to buy a product we appreciate. It doesn't mean we support every human soul that went into making of it and all of their political beliefs.
Imagine if someone bought a Hyundai.
Like,
you support child labor?
Like, well, it's like, how many? We know almost nothing about the CEOs of all these other companies. Like, how many kids does Jim Farley have? How many times has he been married? I don't know, and I don't think most people are going to care. Like, you just don't think about it. It's just because Elon's in the news a lot, and he gets so much press attention that everyone knows. So there's this negative, not from all, because obviously demand's off the charts, but there's this negative perception that gets associated with Teslas because of that media bias against Elon, and there's false stories posted all the time. But I already feel like a crazy fanboy as soon as I try to tell someone that what they're saying is not true. Like, even if I know I'm right, it makes me feel like I have to put myself out there. I have to be more vulnerable. I have to go, hey, you're wrong, and I'm right, and that you got false information. So that just creates a certain layer of awkwardness. You are fake news. Yeah. You don't want to be that guy at the social gathering, because it's easy to just shut all your doors and just say, like, I don't care about you, or I don't care what you think. But it creates this tension, especially when you're hanging out with them and you haven't seen them in a long time and you're just trying to keep things light. So basically my response in that interaction, where there were like a bunch of people around me all is like kicking down on Elon at the same time, I was just like, yeah, you're right.
You got to do that sometimes, though. Listen, when I'm hanging out with people who
pick your battles.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's not the hill you want to die on. But if what I'm saying is stand your ground. If they come to you like, hey, you came to me, you wanted to talk to me about my car, you got some things to say, well, then I'm going to respond. But it's as simple as like, I like the car. Like, why do we have? It's Elon. It's like, oh, am I supposed to cancel or never use Amazon because of like terrible, labor laws and stuff like that, workarounds with these unions? Like, where are we getting? Am I supposed?
Or the example I came up with that I was prepared to use, I have this in my back pocket in case it ever comes up when we get the car, is a lot of people, especially people in my social circle, loved Top Gun Maverick. They were huge fans of the new Top Gun.
I know.
So I was going to say, so do you support Scientology?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? No, I just thought the movie was really great. Yeah, I did too.
You're
I watched
supporting
it
Tom Cruise.
I'm watching a
that's a Tom Cruise
documentary
picture.
about that right now, about Scientology. There's a docuseries.
So it's like, if you enjoy a Tom Cruise movie, does that mean you support all of his,
I love
views
me
and
some
all of
Tom
his
Cruise
beliefs?
films. Yeah.
Oh, he's I think he makes great movies, and he's a fantastic action actor, and I thought the movie was great. But
it's admirable.
Yeah, he's awesome, but I would not say I support or agree with all of his political and religious standpoints. So I think people should look at Tesla the same way. Like, you can enjoy a movie and not be all on board the actors and the directors and the producers' style, and
enjoy the art.
Likewise, a little bit more a more direct comparison I did with that is Dave Chappelle, because of his controversies of jokes and stuff like that. But then, depending which special you watch, either he's funny, he's like, oh, no, he's not funny, or then I was like, no, he's too woke. Oh, no, he's being real. Like, it's like, okay, you're picking and choosing when you like Dave Chappelle. Is he funny or is he not? Is he charismatic? Or do you like the thing or not? It's because people are like, oh, I like that last one, but the one about the other thing, I didn't like that one. Like, okay, you're missing the broader thing, or the fact that, like, oh, if you like Dave Chappelle and you're about his controversial jokes, but he's Muslim openly, so you support Muslims now? And you're like, no. And I turned their bias on them because it's so silly. The whole thing is silly. Stop using Windows because Bill Gates started it, and you can make that case about literally anything.
Like the founder of Android.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Andy Rubin. Oh. Yeah. There's a whole can of worms you can go down that.
Yeah.
So if you fall back to every product you buy is based on supporting the ideologies and the lifestyles of the people in charge of those products, you'd basically have to buy nothing. You would find everywhere some problem or some part of the chain, and that's something else I just want to remind people is like Elon is not the chief of design. He didn't design the Tesla, and there's so many people that work on these vehicles and make them possible, and there's so many people at the factory, and I'm sure they all have different opinions and different lifestyles, different political views, and I'm sure lots of them don't agree with Elon on things. So what I'm in favor of is not you saying pick a side, pick a team to be a part of. It's find your own voice, find your own identity, and stick to that. Like, find common ground with people you disagree with. I think that's what's been great about live streaming and engaging with the tech and EV community is like, I agree with this influencer on this subject, but I don't agree with them on this subject. So I try to watch channels that are fairly pessimistic to a point. There's some like super Tesla bears out there that I just can't watch because they're so baseless in reality, and I'm like, okay, you're just making stuff up. I can't watch that. But I do watch channels that are more pessimistic on Tesla, and then I also watch the Super Bowls. But honestly, I find myself mostly disagreeing with the Super Bowls, and it's like, you don't have to be this all-in Tesla can do no wrong, I must defend every decision they make, or anti-Tesla, or I completely against them. That's what I've tried to establish with my channel and with Taylosive is like, I think Tesla's going to become the number one automaker, and I think they're going to become the most valuable company, but I also don't believe robotaxis will be a thing. And I think that they should change their narrative on full self-drive. And it's like, that encourages that identity of like, have your own opinion, not like an all-in or all-out. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. There's a lot of things Elon says I agree with about reusable rocket tech and more, private space travel, and then also things I disagree with universal basic income or population collapse. There's all kinds of subjects that he has opinions on, and I don't agree or disagree with all of them.
The best thing you can do for yourself,
find your own voice,
is that none of this is the hill to die on. Only defend yourself if someone's coming at you about your stuff. My stance is that. But if you're just with family and you're over here in a conversation, boy, that Elon. I mean, listen. I got family members on both sides on different political spectrums, and when I'm with one group,
me too.
I'm like, boy, what is that Biden doing? And when I'm at the other group, it's like, hey, look at that, look at what Biden's doing. He didn't start a war yet. Like, I pick and choose. Like, I'm gonna be a yes man because it's not worth it. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. But they're just, when everyone's
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, when they're in that ring. Yes, and they're not like, man, what I was same. So same thing with Apple. They'll be talking about, like I can't understand why my phone, after all this time, all I wanted to do is just be able to have a split screen where I can multitask without them. And I'm just like, I hear you, and I just leave it at that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's look at all that screen real estate. And then other people is like, it's such a waste of energy. I'm like, it is. It really is. The battery. I'll make a case for it because it's not. It doesn't define me, so I don't care. And likewise, so if you're overhearing and they're just making a comment, just be a yes man and just get through the day, because we're not trying to start problems. But someone's like making a passive comment at you as your friend, I'm getting defensive for you. It's like, oh, you got a problem with the car? All right, let's talk about it.
But play it defense is what you're saying. Don't play the offense. Like, don't bring it up.
Don't go starting problems.
Someone brings the fight to you.
Yeah. Because then you can always preface the start off by saying, you came to me. Okay? So First of
Yeah,
all,
you started this.
yeah, you're coming to me, and that's how I've told people in the past. Like, I didn't bring up Elon, like with my father-in-law. I didn't bring him up. I didn't bring up. You bring it to me, so I'm gonna have something to say. But I've been doing the
You
battle
like
for
Oreos? Who's the CEO of Oreo? What does he do? What's wrong with him?
Wait, what?
Like maybe the question I could ask that might be a bit more interesting to answer is like if someone was interested in buying an EV, and they were asking you for advice, and then you said, well, if you're in this kind of price bracket, I would really recommend a Tesla, or this is what I get, or this is what I would enjoy. If they said, no, I don't want to get a Tesla because I don't like Elon, would you push on that, or would
Yes.
you just move on to just be like,
I would push
well,
very little, but then I'd be like, there are alternatives. So first thing is like, well, what's your price range? First, I filter before we get to Tesla. I do it anyway, regardless of the opinion of Elon. I filter time frame and price range. Like, okay, if that still leads to Tesla, because like I got time, I'm still saving up. I want to do this. I might get a loan, whatever. I might lease it, whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, I
lease it.
don't lease it. That's the one thing I had to push back immediately. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. You're wrong. Don't lease it.
don't do that.
Don't lease it. But if it gets to the point where it's like, oh, you should, I feel confident saying you should probably get a Tesla. I can't, man. Elon. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So, and what? I mean, I depending on who I'm talking to, I'll be like, well, what does he have to do with it? Well, he's the face of it. So, okay. Like, you like the car? Like, I just here. Let me talk to you about the product, and then if it's worth my energy in person, I'll be like, look at this, look at the specs here and why it matters. It doesn't do 500 miles though. Okay, let's talk about that. And like, I will, not that I can keep providing a counterpoint to it, but assessing what their priority is, I can make a logical case that has nothing to do with Elon. And at the end of it, they're like, yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. Then in my mind, it's like, you're not serious about making a purchase, period, because it's a lot of money, and I get that. But if you're basing a big decision like this off of a personality type, you have the wrong lens on. That he's not in your home. He shouldn't be. You know,
Is he in the closet?
Not yet.
We need more children. How would you answer that, Mike?
I would actually.
How would you answer
what's
that
interesting is I cater to the bias, right? If in Randy's scenario, if I bring up Tesla and they say no, I won't support Elon Musk, I'm like, okay, well then let's look at the other options. What do you want? Do you want SUV?
Yeah.
Do you want a sedan? What's your price bracket and all that? What kind of options
So you wouldn't
do you
push
want?
back on the.
I would not, because I feel it's a losing battle, because that's not what they set out in their question. Their question was, what EV should I get? And if they've got a bias against someone who runs that company, then okay, we won't go down that route. We'll go down to the next option. What's something close to the price of a Model 3 or Model Y, but has some of that capability? All right, let's go for EV6 and Ioniq 5. You want something more like a van or an SUV or something like that? Well, we got the Rivian R1S or something like that. Or in a couple of years, we got the VW ID Buzz coming around. If you want
Just
something,
change the subject, basically.
well, it's not really changing the subject. It's more of just keeping the focus where the focus needs to be.
Right.
Like, I could argue all
you.
day about numbers. I'm an engineer. I can argue all day about efficiency and all that, but they're not going to care about efficiency at the end of the day. They're going to care about the product that they're holding between 10 and 2 or 3 and 9 or whatever like that. They're going to care about what they're seeing right there. And so
But Mike,
I think, okay.
people come to you and you have a Tesla. The context still stands that with you, they're, hey, Mike, what should I get? Hey, Model Y Mike, what should I get? They already know what
No one
your
calls me that.
stance is. I know, but I am making a point that they know you have a Tesla, and they're coming to you for a reason, because you have experience in this field. And for them
They
to
got the merch too.
and they got the merch, and for them to say, they're not Elon, and to dismiss it so quickly is like, here's why I got my Tesla. Like, pushing back on your own personal experience, I would always recommend to do first. And if they say no, like, okay, are you just asking me because you want to fight with me? Now you will die.
The only time that I've actually pushed like that was with my friend Megan, who was car shopping, looking at everything. At one point, she was thinking about an ID4 or a Mustang Mach-E or something like that. And she had I think a Model 3 on order, but she was still looking at other options. I'm like, look, Megan, the Model 3 is a fantastic car. It's got so many great things about it. It's efficiency. You want something cost effective? Yeah, it's going to come at a higher price because it's a Model 3, but you got like the rear wheel drive and all that. But like, this thing is going to save you so much money, and that is your goal. Like, your goal that you've told me is you want to retire at an early age. You want to own a house. You want to start a family real quick and all that. This will help you get to that goal for these reasons. And even, I think the thing that actually tied her over at the end was, this is the safest vehicle you will ever be in. It's got the highest safety score that we have in the United States in terms of ratings. I think maybe actually the highest safety one is the long-range all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive Model 3.
Yeah, they're all up there.
But still, this is the safest thing, and this will get you to whatever age you want to live to. Like, there's countless reports of how safe these cars are. And if you want to
I want to live to 50.
Sure. But like,
I'm out.
this is something that'll take you there. So I think that's the only time that I actually pushed real hard, because I knew this was the car that she was looking for. She just didn't want the price and all that. She thought, okay, well, maybe I can Uber it or whatever.
Facts.
Yeah, I gave her the facts.
But you stuck to objectivity. Like, here's just where we're at with this vehicle. I don't.
Well, I
see
just
why,
cater to
why
what
that
they
would be
want.
Different.
I just cater to what they're looking for, and this is the car that will get you to where you want to be. In other cases, when people have a... Go ahead.
I see we're having the overlap latency issue now.
Oh, yes. Good old Starlink right now.
Love it. What you're doing is right by sticking to objectivity. I guess the real question is, how do you cater to somebody who's being subjective intentionally on the stance of anti-Elon then, and present the facts still, because I think the facts can just speak for themselves. The way anybody can make a case, well, not anybody, but we can make a case about buying Tesla stock for the same reason for facts about debt. Debt is debt. Little debt is little debt. Like, do we have to agree on the definition of debt? How about we agree on the definition of what a recession is? You know, like at this point, we can talk about. Yeah, I'm just playing. But you present facts or objectivity. Why not do that same stance in a pushback form for someone who's like, I don't want Tesla because of Elon? It's like, well, safe vehicle, reliable. There's history with the battery too. So, you know, you could talk about like how's like these other batteries, we don't know how long they're gonna last. Here's what we know about the Tesla battery and the cells. And if they're like, that's too nerdy for me, I don't care. Like, okay, fine. It charges your car very quickly. There's a charging station literally everywhere. And unless you're in North Dakota for whatever reason,
there's nothing there.
No one's there.
Nobody's there. Who's in North Dakota?
Nothing but Badlands.
It's a made-up state. It's not real.
Yeah. I guess you
get my point.
Yeah, what I was gonna say before is, even in many cases, like, people have approached me saying what EV or like what should I get if I'm thinking about an EV, and many times it's just more of what I'm excited.
Lord?
Yeah, it's more of just excited or how excited I am about a certain product, and at that time it's like, I think you should get a Rivian. I think it's a really cool car. Like, these friends that asked me, I'm like, you guys like surfing, you like doing outdoor activities, get a Rivian. That's what you want to do, and this is what's going to be able to do it with its 300 plus mile range. Go for it. And then they're like, well, why not a Tesla? I'm like, well, if you want to get a Tesla, you can. It can accomplish a lot of the same things. But if you don't want that, then there's an option. I just, my mindset is, my mindset is, I'm kind of tired of the whole song and dance. I can list off this whole entire list I've got in front of me of the shareholder meeting notes, which we didn't really go over too much of the shareholder meeting recently, but I can list them. They've made.
Thank you for doing those notes, though.
It's fine.
They're very good notes.
But like in the last 10 years, they've made 2 million. They're going to be making 3 million cars by the end of or their 3 millionth car by the end of the year. they have the highest operating margin in industry. They've got probably one of the safest factories, I think, either in the U.S. or in the world. I have to check that fact again. Yeah, Fremont factory has some of its issues, but it's producing the most cars in North America right now. And they've got these 3 excellent pillars and all that, which that's the mission and all the stuff. I can list numbers all day and night to them. What they are asking for is what car should I get, and if they've got a bias against Tesla or anything else, then that's okay. I'm not going to argue against them. I can tell them the facts and all that, but that's not, in my mind, that's not where the argument or the question started. It was, what should I buy? And if they've got certain filters, I'll accept those filters. I'll squeeze on through to the next filter that we'll get to, and we'll eventually get somewhere to where it's like, oh, well, maybe the Bolt EUV was the perfect car for you or something like that. And that's okay.
On the subject of the shareholder meeting, that's kind of what sparked me wanting to ask you guys about this, because there was a lot of fanboys in that room, and there was a lot of, I don't have a question, I just want to say thank you, Elon, and I love you so much, and I want to be your space marine.
Dear Lord.
Like, there was so many questions, and they've always had these cringy questions year after year after year, and I just remember watching it and thinking, like, okay, I don't want to be associated with that, even if I'm a big fan of the company and of the product. Like, I just don't want to be thought of if I'm like those guys that just gaga over everything. But I know channels that would say if you have a friend or family member that doesn't like that you should argue with them, and if they don't like Elon, you should tell them why they should like Elon or why they're wrong to not like Elon. And not all of us want to be lawyers, not all of us want to die on that hill, or they would just say, like, well, if they think that way, don't be friends with them, don't be social with them. And it's like, no, I don't want to burn those bridges just because we can't agree on something.
No.
Like, I would rather just not start the fire in the first place, to just accept that if I tried to go down that path, it wouldn't end very well, and it would likely just end in tension, and it's not worth pursuing. So
I've been over that road already.
I guess I could.
Let's just move on.
Mm-hmm. Right. If people don't want to associate themselves with that or have to stand up for themselves, and because of it they don't want to buy a Tesla, then I guess I'd respect that, and I'm just grateful that me and my wife are not that way, because I feel like I can't compare it to anything just because I feel like Teslas are the best EVs. But if there was like a far better, far superior EV that I really wanted, but there was just a guy in charge of it that I didn't like, I would feel like I was missing out on it a lot by choosing not to go with it. That's just not how I feel towards anything. So I guess I have a hard time relating to people that feel that way. It's like, dude, again, it's like the Top Gun Maverick thing. Like, imagine if you just chose not to watch that movie, or not to do that because you didn't like Tom Cruise for whatever reason, which there's reasons to. But anyway, I appreciate your guys' answers on that, because the shareholder meeting was fine. There wasn't too much new info.
100 million Teslas in 10 years.
Right, that's right. They put their foot down on that one. I'm trying to do the math on their growth. So they've got 97 million to go, and
they got some time.
They want to be at a rate of 20 million per year in 2030. So I guess 10 years from now they have 2 years of 20 million a year. 20, 40, 60 plus the last, I guess 100 million sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. My God.
It's just
crazy.
Numbers on a page at one point.
Yeah.
At some
Yeah,
point,
it really
you're
is.
just like, wow, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
That's a
it's
thing.
just statistics. But, like, do you think there's much of a point in having these, like, Elon presentations after the recap or after the proposal section? Because I feel like he's never seen the PowerPoint before. He goes up there and he's like reading it off. And he's
Look
like,
at that.
"Oh yeah, we did that." Ha! And then a slide shows up and he's like, "Oh, this is Gigafactory machinery, obviously." And then he gets to another slide and he goes, yeah, I'm kind of telling you things you already know. It was like he was getting to the point of like, I don't even know why I'm up here. What are we doing? And then the Q&As felt there were a couple good questions in there, but for the most part there was like, I feel like 2 people in a row didn't even ask anything. There was
about 2 or 3. Yeah, it was just I love you, Elon, and my kid Kyler or whatever says hi.
Here's my Twitter username. Check me out, guys.
Hashtag
And I was
EV
like,
for life.
Yeah, I don't know why Nick told him that. I mean, they already talked. It's like he doesn't know him already.
They already talked. Went up there and
You have to
someone
call
was
him
like,
out.
I want the autopilot doesn't do this one thing with the brake pedal. Fix it. It was like, dude,
That's not a
it's
question.
not a question. You just like just go up there and start demanding things. He's getting really serious about it. There was one person that talked about geothermals that was kind of cool, but
Yeah,
that
that's a
was
good
about
question.
it. I
Yeah.
feel like
Otherwise, going up there, Elon, when are you buying Twitter? Thanks, bye.
Oh, yeah, well, there's that one dude who's just
No.
like, oh, well, if things don't go well with the whole Twitter scandal thing, is Tesla going to be okay?
Gary Black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
Tesla's going to be fine. They've gotten this far. Elon does not equal Tesla. He's associated.
Elon, do I need to
Right,
sell my
he's,
stocks? Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
It's a good
they
opportunity
have
to
no
buy.
cash problem,
Nope.
and they have no debt problem. So I'm still confused why people think even if the Twitter deal went through and he was forced to buy it, like how that doesn't affect Tesla in any way, shape, or form.
It's the equivalency
All
thing.
it would do is potentially affect the stock price, but Tesla doesn't need to liquefy any shares, so that doesn't. The stock price makes the shareholders upset, but the state of the company doesn't change. So if anything, it's a buying opportunity, like you said. So yeah, do you guys think we still need these meetings
No.
as a formality?
No,
or...
no.
Okay.
No, yeah, no.
Well,
Absolutely, yeah, to
presentations
answer your
now.
question, no. Having Elon there as I was like, well, it's going to get more attention if I'm present for it, but obviously you
Bring
can see
out
that
Chuck E.
he's
Cheese.
he's just as, he's clearly distracted or with other things. I was like, he's looking at the slide with the first time with us. If Elon's not going to take the time to
Who
review
put this together?
yeah. Otherwise, he's like, I'm telling you things you already know. Oh, all right. Like he doesn't. You could see how much he cares about it. So, no, honestly, let's slim the fat here a little bit and be like, yeah, this is a little bit overkill, but I think it's good for. No news is bad news, so at least it's good for something in the sense of having something to talk about tomorrow. But it doesn't.
News is bad.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah. Well,
How about
I do like some
Do
of
you
the
agree, Mike?
updated statistics that they bring. Like we're planning on 10 to 12 gigafactories and all that, or we're planning on more
Oh, yeah.
Tesla diners coming, but like it's going to be a very slow rate of them because of there's not really a huge need. We usually put superchargers in kind of like shopping mall areas or near Targets, so there's already that amenity, but it would be nice to do some more. And honestly, that's something I'm more excited about because I'd like to see more places like Kettleman City or the upcoming
yeah.
Malibu area spot with the diner and all that. I want to see more of those. That's a future that I can get excited about. So stuff like that. Teasing stuff like V4 superchargers likely coming next year. Like, just talk about it now because usually what happens is it gets leaked or not leaked. More of someone asks on Twitter or Elon just feels he's in the need to talk about it on Twitter that day. And then there's no reason to talk about it at the event at that point because it's like you already talked about all the numbers and other stuff
already
on
told
Twitter.
us,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like what? Why not just tell us now, and then we could talk about it, or people can clamor about it, and you don't have at least millions of people adding Elon Musk on Twitter saying where's 10.69 beta and all that, or things like that. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, at first I was thinking it would be more interesting if they like dedicated announcements for the shareholder meeting where they were like, okay, let's talk about the V4 supercharger. Here's the new design. Here's the charging specs, or here's the new diner, charger look, or in terms of Cybertruck, we have no Cybertruck. In terms of updates, like the pricing that you saw in 2019 is dated. Don't trust that.
That was nice.
And let people know. I've seen some updated imagery, but like it's mostly just people on Twitter finding pictures on their website and posting them. It's like if they had some new announcements in regards to their vehicles and stuff, that would be one thing. But then I was thinking, all of these proposals though are kind of like a really sour taste to the beginning of a big announcement event, because
it's
always
a shareholder meeting. I don't
they're
know what
very,
people are expecting, right?
It is a meeting, right? But typically, shareholder meetings don't have much announcements in the first place. But if it's really just about proposals and voting on things, Elon doesn't need to be there for that, and the recap is kind of pointless because obviously the shareholders know all that stuff. So it's like, who are we trying to help here with this presentation, other than the fact that it's like, okay, it's a meeting, Elon's here.
Mm-hmm.
Elon exists. And I think everyone knows that whenever Tesla goes live, everyone's going to be wondering and asking where Elon is until he shows up. And that's like, he's the mascot almost at this point.
Chuck E.
He's
Cheese.
like the crowd pleaser. Get Chuck E. Cheese.
Bring on the mouse.
They'll have an animatronic Tesla bot that
Eventually
dresses up like Elon. That he comes out.
Some people theorize that.
He's
just a Tesla
We had
bot
a
at this
great
point.
year.
Yeah, I don't think it was really necessary to say, AI Day Part 2 or whatever. That's kind of just to say, here's a date. I get
We
why.
got the little heart.
Yeah, I get why it all
Does
does.
that get you excited?
I don't care. That's it.
Cool CGI.
I don't care. That's not what I expect from the meetings, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those meetings are actually for, like, they should be for shareholders, but I don't think that's what they are. It's just another free ad, publicity thing as well.
I would be in favor of like a annual Tesla event though, kind of like how Apple has Dub.
Yes,
like,
that would be
cool. If they had a dedicated event that, like, okay, every June or every whatever, we're going to have a day where we just
bring
talk
out
about
the Roadster
new things
corpse.
we're doing. Yeah. Just talk
That would
about,
be
like, you
cool.
could talk about the state of the company, but say, like, here's some changes we plan on making in the next 12 months. Or here's
like
some
that.
progress updates on, like, just a refresh to the web pages so that we could actually get a real Cybertruck picture on the website instead of the dated prototype. And just kind of update people on, here's some software we're working on. Steam is coming to the Tesla. If we could just get a dedicated presentation on what to expect with hardware and software in a bit more Apple-esque announcement fashion.
Yeah.
But I understand why they don't want to couple that with the shareholder meeting, because the start of every meeting is all of these proposals that are worded in a way that
How
that
dare
make Tesla
you
sound terrible. We think you should stop using child labor. It's like, well, we're not using we're doing everything we can. Well, you should hire people and start an organization that ensures you don't have child labor. It's like, are you going to trust what they say versus what we're saying now, or are you just going to?
Why don't you have enough diversity?
Right. We think you shouldn't be racist.
Do you remember
It's
that
like-
one time
How am I supposed to respond to that?
years
yes, we
ago?
should. No, it's like,
You had a
That
guy
doesn't
ask a
make sense.
question, and he was like, "You should have me come, come work for you."
Yes.
And we just watched the birth of
Yes.
a supervillain origin story. Like, that is what I live for. Great question,
I also think
guy.
they should stop with the Q&A. I've watched Elon do the random crowd Q&As for years, and it's always gone terribly. I remember watching the Starship presentation where the
Oh, jeez.
person came up from Rooster Teeth, and they were like, hey, you should be on our show. And then there was someone that was like, can I come give you a kiss? And he was just like, he's like answering all these dumb questions. It always ends up
Ma'am,
into
it's
this weird
June of
mesh, and
2020. No, you can't give me a kiss right now.
It's just, I don't think we need even the investor voted questions on the website. Someone was like, what are Tesla's views on the US and China rising? It's like,
no.
Peace
what
and
am I
love.
supposed to say? Peace and love. Peace and love.
I think it was peace and respect or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Or the one dude
I
who's
was
like,
quoting
I had
the
the
Beatles.
top question last year in the shareholder deck, and here's my question this year.
Just turns into this flexing session of terrible. Like, do they screen these things?
I have
No.
4
Ugh,
Cybertrucks
yeah,
on reservation.
It's. I'm still excited for the car. I still want the car, and I'm comfortable with the concept of separating the product from the staff who made the product. But at the same time, I'm kind of excited for Tesla's version of Tim Cook.
Yeah.
You know, like the day when Tesla has a very safe, very calculated board of directors, and there's no crazy tweet announcements anymore. It's just like we're just a
Plot twist.
formulaic, you know.
Tim Cook goes from Apple to Tesla when he retires.
Oh, I would love that, honestly.
Good
I'd be-
morning.
Good morning.
I have taken over Tesla.
Starlight has come
would
to
be-
the Model S. Oh, wait.
He has a great track record of preserving a company's sales, profitability, and growing the value of the company. So after Elon's gone, that's kind of what you'd want. with
a little
Tesla,
more
is
creative.
Apple
like
car
stability.
is a Tesla. Are you getting it? Boom.
Yeah, like the day when we don't have to talk about Elon when we're talking about Tesla might be kind of nice. It might be kind of fun to just not.
We'll
associate
look
Elon
back
went
and be
home,
like the
according to
simpler
him. He
days
went
of
home.
like the controversy of Elon saying something crazy on Twitter will be something, but it will be nice also like, oh, I wonder what color Tesla makes next after this crimson red and this mercury silver. Those will be
Yeah.
hilarious days where that's like our biggest worry of like, oh no, what if they come out with a yellow?
I like what we
Yeah.
do with our speculations currently. Like that, it's not that I look forward to them because we kind of do them now. I just like doing that all the time anyway. What's the next product?
Sure.
How's that going to be implemented? How do you think they're going to address X, Y, and Z? Because physics is still physics. How are they going to address the, like stuff like that? We'll be talking about that as we've done from day one till whenever we're done with doing this job, and it'll be
Yeah.
with or without Elon. And that
Companies are far more interesting when they have demand problems, because
Yes.
then they have to try to make the product more desirable. And as excited as I am for Tesla, and there's a ton of demand for them, they just don't have a demand problem, so they don't have to try very hard to win us over right now. So I think one day, it's probably not soon, but one day we'll get to a point where Tesla is just trying to make a wide variety of products and try to make them as desirable as possible. We'll have a lot more to talk about then, and we'll have a lot more opinions and comparisons on colors and options and sizes. And right now, it's just the RAM.
The center
which
console's
is
not the right shape.
important. Right. Yeah. So, you guys have any closing thoughts?
Nothing.
That's it.
That's it.
Randy has to pee.
I
think
gotta
that's what-
pay. I was gonna say, like, I was thinking of the
I
Forrest
gotta
Gump.
pee.
I got
It's like, hey, any closing thoughts? I gotta pay.
Okay.
All right. On that note, everyone, have a good week. Next time we record, I'll be within my current delivery window, so hopefully I have more answers next week.
Exciting times.
Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, have a good week. Bye-bye.